Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
San Diego leaders are reconsidering a key transparency pledge regarding how the city uses surveillance technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. KPBS's Scott Rodd reports the City Council will vote on the issue tomorrow.
An ordinance passed last year set a one-year deadline for the city to identify existing surveillance technologies, solicit community input, and ultimately get city council approval for their continued use. The city has identified hundreds of technologies. They include remote-operated drones, DNA databases, and equipment that can access personal devices. But none have gone before the city council for approval. Now Mayor Todd Gloria and Council President Sean Elo Rivera are proposing a 3-year extension of that review deadline. That's gotten the attention of community advocates.
We want to make sure that we have transparency as to how surveillance technology is used and how that impacts our communities in San Diego in general.
Homaira Yousefi is executive director of the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans. The organization is a member of the Trust SD Coalition, a privacy and surveillance advocacy group. Gloria originally proposed eliminating the review deadline altogether. The coalition criticized the plan and instead proposed a 3-year extension. Late Friday, Gloria and Elo Rivera put forward a new proposal that adopted the coalition's suggestion.
I think 3 years is more than enough time to be able to go through all of these technologies.
City spokesperson Nicole Darling said in an email that extending the deadline is required to avoid hindering city operations. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
Rail services from Orange County through to San Diego resumed today, just in time for Comic-Con. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wen took the train to Orange County to bring us this story.
This train is heading north for the first time in over a month after a landslide at Casa Romantica closed the tracks for several weeks. Dirt and debris fell on the tracks from the unstable hillside. But today, Metrolink and Amtrak trains can travel through the area again.
This is the first time that the train has been this far up north since June, and passengers say they are excited.
Passengers like Oceanside resident Felicia O'Sullivan.
I'm a nostalgic train rider. I love it.
She's been waiting to take this trip for a while.
The day it opens, I'm going to watch, is the day I'm finally going to get on the train. So we've been trying to take the train for 6 months.
Now that it's open, she's heading up to San Juan Capistrano for lunch, and
I really want to see the coast from the train.
And she finally can, thanks to this wall. It's a temporary barrier wall protecting the tracks from debris.
It really was through extraordinary efforts from both Metrolink and OCTA that this barrier wall was able to be constructed in just over a week.
Scott Johnson is the spokesperson for Metrolink. He says the wall's construction costs roughly $1.5 to $2 million. The wall is 250 feet long and 12 feet high, with pilings dug 32 feet into the ground. Johnson says while the barrier wall is sturdy and can stay in place for years, it's only a temporary solution. The city of San Clemente is the one that will need to come up with a permanent solution.
It's pretty substantial, as you can see behind us. I'm amazed at how fast it went up.
San Clemente Mayor Chris Duncan says the city is taking up the issue at tomorrow's city council meeting.
This is a temporary wall at the bottom to ensure that if there is another slide, it doesn't encroach on the tracks again like it did a few months ago. Up above, it's more about stabilizing Casa Romantica, stabilizing that whole hillside, and making sure that the erosion doesn't happen in the first place.
Back in Oceanside, O'Sullivan hopes a permanent solution can be found so that train services won't be disrupted again.
We're lucky we have a train that goes by the coast, and I'm fearful like they might not be able to keep the train by the coast.
For now, she's going to enjoy the coastal view from the train while she still can. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Mail ballots are being delivered for the special election of San Diego County's District 4 supervisor. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen takes a closer look at the race and the office of county supervisor.
You can use 15 each, divide it up however you want.
Much of the job of a county supervisor is simply to administer state and federal programs like food stamps or Medi-Cal without a whole lot of say over how those dollars are spent. But the supervisors do have their own policymaking powers, particularly in the county's unincorporated areas, which don't have their own mayors or city councils. One of the big debates among the supervisors is how much growth to allow in those unincorporated areas. They're typically more car dependent and therefore less sustainable than higher density urban areas, but they also have a lot of land that's available to build housing on.
I really wanted to honor people's time.
Conventional wisdom would say San Diego City Council member Monica Montgomery Stepp is the favorite in the District 4 race. She's the only candidate who's actually won an election, and she has deep grassroots support. She's won a host of endorsements from elected officials, labor unions, and the county's Democratic Party, but she's also been the target of fierce attack ads from the San Diego Police Officers Union over her push for more police accountability and oversight. Janessa Goldbeck is the other Democrat in the race. She's a veterans advocate who has also landed several big endorsements, and her campaign has the most money to spend. Her support for more home building in the county's unincorporated areas won her the endorsement of the county's Building Industry Association. Two Republicans will be on the ballot. Amy Reichert, who ran unsuccessfully for the seat last year. She got her start in politics campaigning against COVID-19 restrictions and vaccine mandates. And there's Paul McQuigg, a Marine veteran and political novice with a limited campaign presence. The county's District 4 is heavily Democratic. It includes much of central San Diego, La Mesa, and Lemon Grove. The special election was triggered by the resignation of former supervisor Nathan Fletcher in May. The deadline to vote for his replacement is August 15th. If no candidate wins a majority, the top two finishers will compete in a runoff in November. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The hot weather continues across San Diego County with excessive heat warnings and watches extended in some areas. Meteorologist Justin Povic has our first look at weather.
The heat remains a big story as we go throughout the coming days. In fact, there are excessive heat warnings out for the mountains below 5,000 feet. Also into the deserts right through Friday. The area is shaded in the red. Coming up, we're going to highlight more of this heat, the extensive nature of it, and how high these numbers will go. I can tell you this as we work our way into tomorrow. Borrego Springs back into the 1-teens. Interior valleys well up into the 90s.
Firefighters are gaining ground against several wildfires burning east of Riverside. As of the last report this afternoon, the Rabbit Fire grew to more than 12 square miles, but containment jumped to 35%. The fire broke out Friday and threatens more than 150 structures. No reports of damage so far. CAL FIRE is investigating the cause. More San Diego Gas and Electric natural gas customers are getting money back. It's happening thanks to a utility review initiated after KPBS raised questions about a Fallbrook customer's unusually large bill. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has the update.
Jack Babbitt's grandson reached out to KPBS after Babbitt got a $1,300 natural gas bill. There were several months of low estimates before a meter reading in January caught up. Problem was, January had the highest gas prices ever. SDG&E recalculated the winter bills, and Babbitt got a $350 rebate. It turns out some other SDG&E customers were affected by a similar issue.
We found about 100 customers within this 900,000 customers that have a gas meter, about 100 customers that don't have a radio signal back to SDG&E that were in the same boat as Mr. Babbitt.
They'll get small refunds, but 10 to 20 of those customers saw bills very much like Babbitt's.
Those customers will also receive a similar credit to Mr. Babbitt.
SDG&E is also tweaking its computer algorithms to be better at estimating bills. Company officials say they hope to keep situations like this from happening this winter. Babbitt's grandson is pleased that other people are also getting relief.
I thought, he cannot be the only one in this situation. And so when I first realized that it probably had something to do with the estimated bills. That was what I'd hoped would happen, so I'm glad to hear that.
Meanwhile, Babbitt got a home energy audit last week. The company sealed up a couple more heating ducts and added insulation to the mobile home's hot water system. Both should help keep natural gas usage down. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
College tuition is skyrocketing and average wages are not keeping up, and that is according to a recent study from Georgetown University. Gloria Pasmino explains what is causing the sharp increases and what you can do about it.
Cal State University students are stressing out about a proposed increase in tuition.
It means I rarely can afford food and gas. For me, I don't get financial aid.
It's part of a nationwide trend between 1980 and 2020. The average price of tuition, fees, room and board for an undergraduate degree increased by 169%. That's according to a report from the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce. That rise far outpaces wage increases in the same time period.
It's really a problem that incomes are not rising more rapidly, not only because of college, but because of all of the other things that families and households need to buy.
So what's driving up the cost? Experts point to some key factors: increasing faculty salaries, increasing competition at top schools, and decreasing state funding.
So it's a perfect storm for families where the tuition has been growing, grant aid has been lowering, and they are being asked to make up the difference.
For anyone aiming to pursue higher education, Michelle Shepard with the Institute for College Access and Success suggests always looking at federal aid and scholarship programs first.
And then if you do need to turn to loans, which most students likely will, start with the federal student loan program and maximize the federal loan before you go outside of the program.
I'm Gloria Pasmino reporting.
$10 million from the state will help bring more affordable housing projects to the South Bay. City and county leaders announced the funding today. Some of the money will go toward an affordable housing development at the Palm Avenue Transit Station. The funds will also be used to convert a San Ysidro alleyway into a safe corridor for pedestrians and bikes. For many people who live in City Heights, the 15 freeway that runs through the neighborhood isn't a harmless piece of infrastructure. It's a nuisance, creating noise and air pollution. The freeway was built with several amenities that were meant to mitigate its harmful impacts. But KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says decades later, the promise of reconnecting City Heights remains unfulfilled.
Houses, families on this side. I want to say there was houses over here and a commercial space on the corner.
Alexis Villanueva is walking me down University Avenue as it passes over the State Route 15 freeway. She's the executive director of the nonprofit City Heights Community Development Corporation. When she was growing up here in the 1980s, all this land was taken up by apartment buildings and businesses. But Caltrans wanted to build the freeway, so it used eminent domain to seize and demolish more than 9 blocks of property. Some 2,000 residents were forced to leave, including Villanueva's sister and niece.
When you ask them to relocate, you're essentially asking them to figure out how to make rent deposit and somewhere else that's probably more higher in rent. So immediately my sister was concerned of what that would mean. And then also what that would mean for my niece, that she would have to take and move out of the district as well, and move schools. So it was a big decision, but there really was no choice.
Residents fought to stop the freeway, but in the end, after years of exhausting negotiations, Caltrans agreed to cap just 1 block of the freeway. That block became Terralta Park, the first park Caltrans ever built as a roof over a freeway. Caltrans also made space for a rapid bus line that would run on the freeway median, though it took another 18 years after the freeway opened for that bus line to start service. The bus line came with extra wide bridges over the freeway, each with a little pedestrian plaza.
All the environment, all the built environment that you see was really so people could still activate the space and not feel like there was a western part of City Heights and then an eastern part of City Heights.
But the dream of these plazas becoming gathering spaces that would reconnect the community hasn't been realized. Caltrans built kiosks here to house a small business like a coffee shop or a newsstand. They also built bathrooms here, but in the more than 20 years since they were built, neither the kiosks nor the bathrooms have ever been used. Villanueva says it's a waste. These amenities could improve the experience of riding public transit.
The idea that someone is commuting, and a lot of our families do that with their service jobs, they're using this expressway, this bus, to go downtown and back. When they're making a stop all the way from College Avenue to here, and they need to grab breakfast to head on to their downtown job, that's a need. That's a need, and that helps with comfortability. That helps for them to get to work on time.
People in City Heights have been fighting for years to activate and beautify these plazas, and they've got plenty of ideas.
Extra greenery. We have, you know, the tree and the potting plants, but that's not enough for this place to look gray and, to be quite honest, dismal the way that it looks. So we want added greenery. We also want lighting. We've been told by our community that lighting is a necessary part of riding the bus.
The community has made some progress toward activating the kiosks over the freeway. The city of San Diego agreed to lease them from Caltrans so it could find its own vendors. But they're still locked up. And the things that make these plazas unpleasant, like the noise and pollution from the freeway, have no cheap or easy fixes.
And when we're talking about a community that has limited resources, that hasn't had investment from, you know, government as much as it could have, as much as it should have, it does take public and private partnerships. And I think that that's where, in our leadership and our organization has said, fine, let's come to the table, let's figure out what we need to do and how much resources are going to take, and we'll go out there and do that.
The experience of City Heights being divided by a freeway is by no means unique. It happened all over San Diego County and the whole country, most often in low-income communities of color, the communities least able to fight back. You can learn more about the past, present, and future of our freeways by listening to my podcast, Freeway Exit. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The Ocean Beach Pier is closed for maintenance today. City workers are repairing damage to the pump station caused by winter storms earlier this year. The pier's been closed since January. It's set to reopen tomorrow and remain open as work on the pump station continues. Repairs are expected to last through the end of the week. Well, San Diego Pride 2023 is in the books. KPBS reporter John Carroll has a look at how things went.
All the marching, shouts of support, the monumental, colorful celebration now just a memory. And Pride Executive Director Fernando Lopez is basking in the afterglow.
It was the smoothest, best running Pride Parade festival rally that I've been through in my 13 years.
They won't have the final numbers in for several more days, but Lopez says it looks like their estimates of 300,000 or more people at the parade and the festival seem about right.
I just couldn't believe how incredible the staff, the volunteers, the contractors were. I mean, everything just sort of went according to plan.
You might also sense a sigh of relief in Lopez's voice. With the rise of anti-LGBTQ+ legislation and violence across the nation, there were concerns. But Lopez says in San Diego, at least, when it comes to threats, things are actually better this year.
There was a dramatic reduction in the number of aggressive emails that we received or communication. So I probably felt the safest I ever did going into this year's event.
In fact, Lopez says all the media attention to the anti-LGBTQ+ news might have actually ended up helping.
I think it really put this lens on it that seemed to diminish things. So I think all of that really just not only helped San Diego Pride be safe and successful, but prides all over the country.
So now the attention of the San Diego Pride Organization, the largest pride organization in the country, by the way, they're now working on next year's event and have been for months.
you have to start planning those things out at least 1.5 to 2 years in advance.
Keeping Pride going strong. It's about more than just the local LGBTQ plus community. It's also about the pride San Diegans can take in a parade that's the largest single-day event in the county, coming off without a hitch. John Carroll.
Happy Pride!
KPBS News.
We are going to be talking more about the heat over the course of the next couple of days, especially over the interior. Now, there will be some relief, some cooling at the coast, and for many, that dry stretch will be continuing. Let's work our way into the overnight as we see temperatures only falling down into the mid-80s around Borrego Springs. Ramona 65. Chula Vista down into the mid-60s, and Oceanside down to 66. We'll take you through time here this evening and into tonight. Now, there can be some cloudiness along the coast, not showing up a lot here, but that will, again, limit the amount of heating that we do experience. Also notice to the north, the potential that there can be a couple of downpours, especially out east, save Las Vegas, into central Nevada, into Arizona. Some of that moisture beginning to make a return, but returning for us is going to be the heat. And look at this. We talk about some of those far interior valleys, the mountainous terrain below 5,000 feet. We're well up in the 90s. There are excessive heat warnings there into Tuesday and into the deserts. And we're going into a Friday with excessive heat warnings. I want to take you through time here out toward the coast, and we're going to hang out around 80 degrees against some morning cloudiness breaking. Overnight low temperatures dropping down into the 60s, and this will be the case as we work our way throughout the upcoming week. Now, the interior valleys where we experience lots of sunshine, look at this. We're going to be back in the mid-90s here Thursday, Friday, and right into Saturday. There will be a little bit of relief at night as we dip down into the 60s for a time. Over the mountainous terrain, again, down below 5,000 feet, you'll experience even warmer numbers. But look at this, mid to upper 80s as we head our way into Wednesday, mid-70s beyond into the weekend. And it's going to be very hot here into the desert, so running above historical averages, 100 teens across the board. That's going to take us all the way into the upcoming weekend, with overnight lows only dropping down into the mid and at times the upper 80s. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Povick.
Car crashes are the leading cause of death of children every year. A car seat can greatly reduce risk, but hospitals across the country are finding more counterfeit car seats. Mandy Gaither explains how you can spot a knockoff.
On the road, it's the best way to keep a baby safe, but some parents may unknowingly be putting their child in danger.
Counterfeit car seats are made of cheaper, flimsier materials, and they are unable to withstand the crash forces that happen in a crash.
Courtney Gleaton with Orlando Health says last year the hospital system found 42 counterfeit car seats and 34 foreign-made car seats during inspections. They're on track to match those numbers again this year.
They are not federally regulated in the U.S. and are therefore not safe to use for your children.
Many of the knockoff car seats are bought online, so Gleaton says not to buy from a third party. And before you spend money on a travel system, zoom in on the product picture to check the labels.
All car seats in the U.S. are going to have English and Spanish labels, not just photographs of them.
If you already have a car seat for your child, check the straps and anchoring parts. If there are no lower anchor attachments or a chest clip, it might be counterfeit. Finally, read the label. All federally compliant car seats should say that it conforms to all applicable federal motor vehicle safety standards.
If it did not come with a registration card or a car seat manual, that could also be an indicator that it's counterfeit.
And if you're worried about your car seat, Gleaton says to get with a trained technician in your area who can make sure your seat is safe. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And here's another look at today's top stories. The Amtrak Pacific Surfliner resumed service today from Orange County south to San Diego. Service had been halted since early June because of debris and dirt falling on the tracks from an unstable hillside above. Passenger trains are now able to travel through the area thanks to emergency construction of a temporary barrier wall protecting the tracks from debris. San Diego leaders are reconsidering a key transparency pledge regarding how the city uses surveillance technology. A one-year deadline was set for the city to identify existing technology, solicit community input, and ultimately get city council approval for their continued use. But with that deadline fast approaching, the mayor and council president are proposing a 3-year extension. The city council will vote on the issue tomorrow. Mail ballots are arriving to voters in the special election for San Diego County's District 4 supervisor. The election was triggered by former supervisor Nathan Fletcher's resignation in May. The district includes much of central San Diego, La Mesa, and Lemon Grove. The candidates are Democrats Monica Montgomery Stepp and Janessa Goldblack, and Republicans Amy Reichert and Paul McQuigg. Voters have until August 15th to turn in their ballots. If no candidate wins a majority, the top two finishers will compete in a runoff in November.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, floods and extreme heat pose serious risks to millions of Americans. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. The rise in tipping has many customers fuming, but NPR's Morning Edition shares perspective of a worker who depends on that extra money and explains what most people don't get about tipping. And KPBS Midday Edition is examining the rise in the use of drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy in weight loss treatment. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.